All right, welcome everybody. This is Barney Kunze coming to you live from my new house that we just built and we just moved into, and Chantal Regan is from Arizona with us, and we just seem a little frazzled because we're having some technical difficulties. Chantal's computer, the camera wasn't working, and my internet had cut out, and welcome to first world problems with having internet issues. So welcome, Chantal. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I'm sorry, my cat's with me and she just wants to talk a lot.
Hey, that's okay.
So if she becomes too much, let me know and I'll put her in the room.
Okay, no problem. Well, it is an Animal Wellness Summit after all, so it's good to have some cats on.
Yeah.
So why don't you, and hello, Jerry. Nice to see you on here. Those of you who might be coming on later, because you're probably like, hey, it was 10 minutes. The show was supposed to start at 1 p.m., but sometimes we always say, give us about 5 minutes until everything gets going perfect. So anyway, so welcome, and it's another installment of our live weekly coaching calls. We do this Facebook style where it's an interview style, Q&A. So we're going to be talking about a very interesting topic, and that has to do with water quality. And Chantal's presentations. Now, Chantal, did you do presentations for us the last 2 years or just last year?
Just last year.
Just last year, okay. So, and have you already talked to Jamie? Are you back in for 2019?
I believe so. I do have to, sorry, wow.
Okay.
Yep, I believe so.
Okay, cool. Now, do you have your topic set up or set out for this year? Do you know what you're doing?
I do, yeah. Last year, I don't know the topic title yet, but last year I basically brought awareness of the problem and then now how to fix it, basically beyond just water filters, how to detox the animals.
Okay, cool. So why don't we, before we fully jump into it here, why don't you just give everybody a little bit of a brief kind of background history, who you are, how you got to what you're doing, because I remember last year when we talked, it was really interesting. You were in this kind of state of transition of moving from here to there, and I'm curious to see where you're at now. So go ahead and take a couple minutes and tell us about what you're doing, how you got there.
So I started, let's see. So I started my first career is basically my matrix job. I'm a CPA, certified public accountant here in the US. But a few years ago, I got sick and I did couple of health mistakes and I needed answers, needed to go back to school because I knew going the conventional route was not the answer in order to retain health and really have healing. So I went back to school for animal naturopathy. And a couple of years ago, I finished and became a certified animal naturopath. And just about a year ago, I started delving into animal acupressure. And then now a little bit of, I'm looking into herbals and homeopathy, kind of supplementing my education.
Cool. So you were going through your training. Now, what was your previous, did you already mention that, what your previous career was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know about that, or?
Yeah, I just think it's interesting. You know, I think you were in bookkeeping or accounting or something. And I just think that what's really cool about it is that well, just tell us, but I mean, I think it's neat that you followed your passion and kind of slowly worked your way to where you are now.
Oh, yeah. So, CPA, taxes, bookkeeping. So that's basically my matrix job. And then with the naturopathy, it's what keeps me grounded with health. And it's really keeps my motivation going. So hopefully in the future, I can delve more into naturopathy than good bookkeeping and keep the bookkeeping clients that I really like. The funny thing is a lot of my client base, the ones that I have, are health conscious minded. And a lot of them are actually into animals, dogs, horses. So it's kind of neat to see how life kind of brings you. So whenever I have tax meetings, sometimes the end of the tax meeting is actually like they have health questions, either for their spouse, for themselves, or for their pets. It's kind of cute.
Like, okay, your income tax returns, here you go. Everything looks good. And what were you saying again about that back pain?
The what? The back pain?
Oh, the back pain, yeah.
No,
I'm saying like you were talking to a client saying, you know,
here's
your taxes returns. Okay, and what were you saying? You had some back pain. Let's deal with that now.
Exactly. It's really cute. So it's like a little bow over the whole entire meeting. So it's kind of cute.
Yeah.
Gives me smiles.
Okay, so you do client work with people uh,
Yeah.
right now, like locally, but then if people are, because I know this happened last time, and every time we have a presenter on, the question inevitably comes up about, well, okay, I want to learn more about water quality or whatever the topic is that's being discussed. So people can, like, you do work with them, like if they're remote. So if they have questions, just so you guys know, we'll share Chantal's information, and you can reach out to her if you're interested. We encourage you to do that.
Oh yeah.
But why don't you tell us, like, what you alluded to it with your presentation from last year, but what are some of the things that you found, like that are prevalent, like right now? What are the common themes that you're seeing in water with the clients that you're working with? I know it's different depending on the location with where you are, but tell us a little bit about that.
Well, okay, so what I found a few years ago is well, it kind of hit me at home too. So it helped me wake up. And then whenever I do have pet meetings, I see a lot of problems with just personality, aggressiveness, digestive issues, just general health issues. And when I looked into it, one of the things that I kind of focus here locally is actually detoxing heavy metals. And the most prevalent one here is actually arsenic. And that's not just well water. It kind of seems like the town that I was in is actually, it's the town water that's actually more polluted than the wells. So even though you have a trusted source, it might not be a trusted source.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because I know that some people, including some of my own family, think, oh yeah, I shouldn't say family, but people that I know, most of my family live on a farm, which they have a well, drink from a dug well. But if you're on city water or municipal water, that how we would say it here in Canada, that there's basically a large water treatment facility or small water treatment facility where the water essentially gets recycled, and is then basically passed through back into, potable or potable water. But you're finding that as a consistent outcome, that the city water or the town or municipal water is has more impurities in it, or how would you describe that better?
Well, the funny thing is, when I moved to this town, I actually started kind of having health issues kind of showed again. And to me, I don't know, whenever I have a little symptom, I know what to do, I can fix it. But those were kind of symptoms that I couldn't get rid of. And I noticed that into my daughter as well. So what I started doing, oh, it was really funny. At that time, I got the water report from the city, and arsenic was above EPA levels. But there was no mention of follow-up or anything. There was violation stated. So I started looking into it, and then I tested myself, I tested my daughter, and we were way above the value ranges for arsenic. So then I started detoxing herself, looking into filters, and I realized that it's actually affecting the pets that I'm dealing with too.
Hmm.
So I didn't drink the city water. I always get my own bottled water, and I test it kind of a couple times a year to make sure that their filters are still good. But it was just through showers.
Use it for the shower. So this is important, because I know the last time we had a call there last year, there were a lot of people that were kind of gave the impression that their minds were getting blown, because you think, okay, we want to give our pets and animals water, and I don't know, I'm totally being presumptuous. So if you're watching this live or in the future and thinking, well, Barney, I give my cats and my dogs and maybe my horses filtered water already, then that's good. But it could be that if you're not, and it's just coming directly from the source, wherever that is, it's just good to check it. So why don't you tell us about that? Because again, I think from what I recall, when we were on the last coaching call, you had reviewed and discussed some of the different tests, and or gave some suggestions. So can you do that for people? Because I know that the question is like, okay, I know that there is the potential for there to be impurities or toxins or things that maybe shouldn't be or that are questionable in our water, but how do we really know to start, is to have a baseline? What tests can be actually used?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I should actually, there's a local lady here that it delves into the water and then she basically gives me a cup, like a special cup, and then I can actually bring it back to her and she tests it. There's some home tests too. The only problem is you do want to, they can really become expensive. So for me, I definitely focus on the one that bugs me the most and is arsenic. Um, so it really depends. And then also what I think it was it the health ranger actually did do some health some water sampling too, tests. So there's a lot of resources out there. There's some home tests that you can. I do have two different meters, one that does the particles per million, which are particles per million, it depends. If they're healthy, that's good. But you don't want too much of them too. And then I have a different tester too, and I don't know the pronunciation, but it's from Russia. And that one actually tells me if it comes back with a certain amount of numbers, it's basically there's something wrong with your water.
Right. So then how do you decipher that then? Is it a bit of a
really difficult? So I did find it's kind of cute though, because I do have a zero water and I really trust that one. And then I have a different one too that if I do filter the water with it, then I'm really the particles per million, even though they come back, but they're going to be at a low level, I'm still okay with it because we do need some minerals to keep it kind of alkaline too. But my other tester has to become to zero, and I can actually find more information on it too. I got my comfort level with it,
Right. Okay.
so I'll find more information on it.
Okay. So the simple thing, is there something that people can do? They're watching right now, like, okay, I want to go out and get something right now to at least do a test, because I think that this is the inherent. I'm going to presume, but the concern or the question is, well, I don't know what's in the water. I know that I want to just feed clear and pure water. So just a couple of tips that you can give us to start off, not only from the testing, but just some things that you can do to, if you don't have a test, and what is the best source to go for, especially when it comes to feeding our pets.
That sounds good. Actually, okay, for the water testing, I'm going to add a couple ideas to, I have some ideas, but I do have to review them. So I'll add that to my presentation.
Okay. So right now is the best thing, are you suggesting that people use just getting bottled water, just any bottled water, distilled water, RO water, spring water that's from a reliable, clean source? Again, you still want to be confident in that, but
that's a really good question because there's negatives and positive with all of them. So you do want to have really clean water, but you do want to have it kind of alkaline too. So you're going to have some particles per million in there. Right. So what I do for me right now, I do get my water in a test to a level of zero with that specific meter. I want to do a little bit more research so I can talk about it. Yeah. But at the same time, I do add a lot of Celtic salt to my diet and colloidal silver, kind of play with different things to supplement.
Okay, so out of spring water, distilled water, and RO water, which is reverse osmosis, in your opinion, from your experience with your research and your education, what's like the best, or is there really such a thing?
So right now, I believe I'm on reverse osmosis, and then I add a lot of minerals back to my diet.
So you think RO water is the best, and then you add Celtic or Himalayan sea salt to your water?
So far, that's my band-aid, yeah. But I'm not going to say it's the best. There has to be a solution out there.
Yeah. And then you mentioned alkaline. So talk to us about that.
The alkaline water, that one, I don't know. I don't know if it's like, it's kind of like a advertising thing. Because a lot of the times you'll see alkaline water, but whatever they add to the water is not good. So it might alkaline it, but I don't trust those. I don't want it added. I don't want the specific items that they add back to the water. So there has to be a solution.
Yeah, I know that there's some people that like they're familiar with those, and I can't speak overly. Like I know that alkaline water is good. It's good to have that, just water in general, but I don't know exactly how they make with waters acidic compared to being alkaline. I know there was these different.
I use strips to check the acidic or alkaline.
Yeah. So the determination of that to make it more alkaline? What chemical or element needs to be added back in. I think, is it just oxygen or ozone or something? I'm not sure.
I'll put that in my present. You're giving me a lot of ideas too, so to add to my agenda.
Yeah, because I think that this is the thing where when you go back to looking at, it's one thing to be educated and knowledgeable about knowing that, okay, yeah, these are issues, these are prevalent problems or challenges, or I'm doing everything that I think that I can when it comes to the health and well-being for my animals and my pets, and feeding them raw or feeding them, you know, slightly cooked or warm food, like in the original Crock Pot diet with Dr. Ruth Woods, and doing as much as possible. But then there might still be these health issues that creep up, and if you're not looking at the water, it's a super important, of course. But I think that even as we're talking about it now, it seems so simple and obvious. But I could be wrong. I have been wrong. Just ask my wife. I've been wrong only once or twice before in my life.
I'm sure.
But I think that is a commonly overlooked component. Well, I'm just I'm giving my animal water. That's good. I don't know what else you would give your pets and animals, but I mean, you're getting them sufficient water. But then the next thing is to look at the quality, right? And that's what you're really talking about.
I can remember that case. It was a couple of years ago. It was like we were doing everything for the animal, like everything. The animal would come back and then drop again. So instead of giving up, when I visited the parent's home, I noticed, I'm like, oh, you have a bottled water, and then you have your dog's water. I'm like, how do you replenish that dog's water? And she's like, oh, we give them tap water. I'm like, no. I'm like, you have bottled water right there for you. And then I believe it's kind of cute because I get some updates now because they don't need me anymore. She just kind of bounces things on me once in a while. Right. And I like the feedback too. But the dog is doing a lot better. She still has her up and down, and that's kind of something that is I'm trying to train her on detox symptoms, healing crisis, because it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
But it's kind of cute. Since I actually told her, I'm like, why don't we try this? Don't try tap water anymore. And they were in a location even worse than the town that kind of woke me up. So she started bottled water, and knock on wood, things are doing okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is that it's not so the dark side or the challenge is that I think deep down, am I all fuzzy?
You are all fuzzy, yeah.
Oh, that's weird. I'm on super fast internet here. I'm not sure why, but it's one of the things on a side note when I'm really excited about moving back into town off the farm is having really fast internet, but I'm not sure what's going on now. But I'll see if I can smile.
I can.
But I think that's just the thing is that it gets commonly overlooked, and it would be easier to say, yeah, I gave my dog some really clean water, and next day he was just magically better. But it's just that it's got to go through the system, flush out the body, and hydrate.
Yeah, you get really happy. You get really happy. You see your pet great, and then one day it's like, well, why is my pet not eating? Kind of lethargic. And then that's when the training on healing symptoms happens, because, well, yeah, you're going to have up and down, and the body is going to be able to handle detoxification when it's strong enough.
Right.
So it's kind of holding their hand too, while not to give up on the animal. Yeah. Because a lot of people, when they see their pet not eat for a day or two, well, they go automatically, oh, it's over.
Right.
So it's just there's certain things, kind of pet your dog, the right nutrition, proper nutrients too, to kind of help, get out of the healing symptoms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So it's good to make sure if they're not eating, just give them some water. And so do you know anything about this? Jerry's asking the comment or asking the question, what about the Dylan water?
The Dylan water?
I'm not too sure. Jerry, if you're still on, just let us know what you mean. I don't think either of us are familiar with that, unless it's a typo and there's something else that you're referring to, which is possible. But okay, so your presentation from last time was really educating people about all of the issues or the challenges that they might face when looking at water. But the next step then is to get the test done. But is it a pretty safe bet that in the interim, until they go back and watch your presentation, or if they don't have access to it, that the best bet is to use RO water or some form of clean spring water? Is that kind of what you're saying and what you found?
Yeah, I think so. That's what I do. It's basically use a clean source and just make sure that you supplement good with your diet. Just proper. Well, I really love, like, for humans, raw nutrition, for pets, raw food too, species. For humans, of course, I'm going to cook my meat, but you don't want to burn it, that it can produce more cancerogens. So if
Carcinogen.
you just eat a species appropriate diet for whoever you're feeding, and then supplement with our diet are pretty much, with all the GMO stuff out there and everything, it's pretty much depleted. So just supplement with good salt, good vitamins, and whole foods based, and for the interim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far, it's working for us.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Well, what other tips can you give everybody, to like some things to look at, or just anything else about having healthy, clean water?
Well, the funny thing is, just running in town here, when I talk to people, and then they come to me, they're like, I'm really healthy, but I have this, I have a doctor for this, doctor for that. Oh, my vet is really good, but it's always sick, and on this medication. Well, no. If you need to see the doctor regularly, or if you're on many medications, there's something wrong. Something's not good. And when I point out to the water, some people are like, it helps them. It starts to kind of wake them up. Other people get offended. No, my water's clean. So I've noticed that toxins react differently in everybody.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's aggressiveness, it's personality. Sometimes it makes people depressed. Sometimes it makes them gain weight. Sometimes it's just overall, just generally not well.
Yeah.
So it depends.
Yeah. So did I hear you correctly saying that you've noticed that depending what's in the water changes the behavior of the pet or the animal and the people?
Yeah, like one like the arsenic, right, could actually cause different issues in different animals or pets. So it won't attack the animal specifically. It's not one size fits all. So basically, I'm thinking that whatever deficiency the person or the animal has, that's where the chemical is actually going to kind of react more.
Right.
So it might actually cause just general malaise, or it actually might cause a specific issue like aggressiveness or depression or weight gains or.
Yeah. So have you ever run into the situation where people, so it's one, you do your test in your water, but then you can run some form of economical test on the animals themselves, or is it more like kind of correlating the symptoms and then looking at, well, what is in the water, and is there any connection between the known symptoms and potentially what impurities or toxins are in the water?
There's two things. Finding a professional that will want to test the animal for that. A lot of the conventional doctors don't believe in it. Maya. And then the other thing too, it's the cost effectiveness. So to me, it's like, I know we're in a region that the water's really bad. Well, or city's really bad, both of them. So it's just detox the animal.
Yeah.
And then part of detoxing too, it's having clean water.
Yeah. Have you ever seen those, the ion detox foot baths?
Yes, I have one.
You have one?
Oh yeah.
Now, have you ever put your animal's feet in them before?
Oh, I have. Well, at home I have cats, and they're Bengals. There's no way.
So, you couldn't hold them down long enough.
Oh no, they'll be, what are you doing to me?
It sounds, this is I'll be very honest. I have one myself, and I know the guy locally here, like 30 minutes from me, that makes the units. He's been studying and using the technology for like 15 years, and studied with this doctor, and his wife had this amazing kind of recovery story. His name's John, and he's going to be coming on as a presenter this year, because when he told me, I actually had a unit at the gym where people would come in and put their feet in it. And I had somebody just the other day kind of say, oh, to the person who posted, one of my clients that came in and did one, and then posted how great they felt after, and said, oh, don't waste your money in that. It's a crock of, you know, blankety blank blank, and it doesn't work, and there's no science, and it's all this stuff. And I was like, okay. I'm like, I've got over 1,000 treatments for myself and for people, and it's been amazing. But
you feel good the next day.
What's that?
You feel good the next day. But the funny thing with those foot bath, right? I went through the same process. I'm like, huh? But the funny thing is, when I started using it, it was very kind of rustic, like brown rustic, which is heavy metals. And then I started delving into fasting and gallbladder flushing. And then that color changed. It went into more of the green area.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Yeah, it is. And the reason I bring this up is because you're talking about cleansing and detoxing, and that's the unit that he sells. He said that they have people out there right now that are using them, that they found that, so this is so interesting, that the horses are out and they'll get fed, they'll just take the water from, you know, the well. But when you think of the runoff from the fields, if the farmer is farming organically or biodynamically and not using sprays and herbicides, pesticides, rodenticides, and fungicides, then okay, good. But even if they're not and they're farming that way, then the water runoff is in the water table, going back down in. So it's essentially kind of cycling through. And so then the horses are drinking it. The dogs are out playing on the farm, out in nature. My dog would always go and just drink water from wherever. Lucy would, and I was like, no, don't drink the water. But I don't want to walk around in fear all the time either. But the point is that
you have to keep hydrated.
Yeah, you got to keep hydrated. And so he was saying that there's people that use these things, and put the horse's foot or hoof like right in this big 5-gallon pail, and even the dogs will only do it for like 5 or 10 minutes. And whoever has been using them has some testing and some research on it. And I was like, holy, that's really cool. I wouldn't have thought, oh yeah, sure. The first thing you would do is go and put your dog's paws or 2 paws or feet in, their paws, and then a horse's hoof or their just one leg.
That'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah, it is. So he's going to be coming on probably in the next couple of weeks and talking about it as a presenter about it, and then doing a full presentation in the summit. So I wanted to ask you if you had been familiar with that technology, and if you had used it, because it's
use it on me, but not the cats.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So well, that's something that we can definitely look at a little bit later. But yeah. So what are some other things that we can? Any other tips or tricks or things that we can take home with today?
Well, yeah. So basically, you gave me a lot of supplement ideas for the presentation, but it hits you whenever your full your toxic load is from whatever source. Right now, what really is great, what's really at home is arsenic, but it could be fluoride. Chlorine's really bad. Or any other ones like lead or whatever. Look at symptoms, and it's not one size fits all. It fits all. It's a bunch of stuff. And then the glyphosate too really hit, the nitrates, all those things.
Yeah.
So symptoms it could be hair loss, it could be hot spots, it could be weight issues, personality changes.
Yeah.
And then the GI tract, a lot of the digestive issues, autoimmune can hit too. So it's just whatever. So for now it's get clean source of water, add supplements in your diet. Make sure that you eat species appropriate diet too, whatever is for your species, and focus on supplementing. Have sunshine, good water, exercise.
Yeah, and so that's all really good. The salt part, for those of you who maybe came in a little bit later, are you adding sea salt to the cat's water? And do you suggest that clients do that as well a little bit?
I don't, because too much salt for the cats is bad. So what I do have like a bowl of water that's just filtered with the method that I like. I use that, and then I have another water that I kind of change. Sometimes I'll put some iodine in it, or I'll put colloidal silver, sometimes a little pinch of salt, and I let them decide.
Yeah, that's good. So you do one with and one without. So you have it there, but not that it's always as always going there. That
Exactly.
they don't have any other choice. Because the thing is that the whole point, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the purpose of putting not just table salt or white salt, because that's really just sodium chloride,
Oh yeah.
but if you take real minimally processed or prepared sea salt, so Celtic sea salt and or Himalayan sea salt that have the trace minerals intact, that it helps to remineralize the body, because unfortunately, even though we're getting filtered water, or the only downside that I know with RO is it's very filtered, so it can be more demineralized, which is why it's good to put the salt back in. But then distilled water is like, some people consider it to be almost like dead water, because there's no minerals or nutrients left. It's good for cleansing and fasting and stuff, but it's not. I've heard that, and I could be wrong, but I've heard that it's not the best thing to be drinking all the time, because it actually can
I heard the same thing too.
pull minerals and nutrients right out of the body.
And then the funny thing is, even if you use for cleansing and fasting, if you keep doing it, you're going to become so deficient that even your detox pathways are not going to function properly. So you could add the distilled water, and your body doesn't have the detox pathways that it should.
Right.
Because of deficiencies. So we need to treat deficiencies. And
right.
yeah, I like the Celtic and the pink salt too.
Yeah, Himalayan sea salt.
But yeah, the table salt, that's a no-no. If anybody has it at home, trash that. That's denatured toxic stuff.
Yeah, well, it's just stripped of all the trace minerals, which is what the body needs. And I've had, so for those of you watching, if you're drinking water, so I put my health coach hat on for a second, that if you're drinking water, I've had clients say to me, well, I drink water, but if they drink too much at work, I've got to go pee like every hour, or I've got to go pee more frequently than I want to, or it's just inconvenient, I'm out of the job site or whatever. But when I ask them or suggest that they just put a little pinch of sea salt, you shouldn't be able to taste it at all, so just a little bit, but this is a little tip for you, for yourself and your pets, is try that for the next week, and I'm willing to bet money on it that you will not have to urinate or pee as frequently, because the body's actually utilizing the water efficiently, because the trace minerals are in the water, so you want to shake it up real good before you drink it. And then it just, you just function better. So that's been my experience, Chantal, but has that been yours as well? Is that?
No, you're right about that, because every morning what I do, it's like big glass of water, and then I add a little bit of salt to get me going. And you're right. I can't, it's so funny because I'm on the go, and then I'll have my bottle of water during the day, and I start drinking the non-salt one, and oops, yep.
Right. Yeah, I've taken, those lip balm or like lip balm containers.
Yeah.
I've gotten those before. Like, you can get the empty ones, and then I fill them up with sea salt.
That's really cool.
And then tap it out. But then I had a glass, it was like a glass vial. In fact, I actually took an essential oil bottle, and I took the orifice off the top and soaked the bottle really good and like cleaned it out. And then I put the salt in there, and then I would just carry that bottle around, so when I would need it, I would just take it out. And because you like what you just said, you get your big glass of water or bowl of water for your pets, and you go out somewhere and you don't have the sea salt handy, then you'd be drinking the water that doesn't have the salt. So that's what I found.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, and then you have it with you, and then you can just add a little bit to the water.
That's true. I'm gonna use that tip. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't see any other questions here. And I will say this as a little funny speaker joke. Usually if you go to ask for questions, or if there's not a lot of questions, I had one of my coaches say, you're either doing a phenomenal job that people are like, wow, I have no questions, you're answering every question, or you're doing a horrible job and people are bored. And so you'd always say, I'm going to go with the first one, that you're so full. Okay. But that's my little speaker joke that I tell people when I'm speaking.
Oh yeah. Thank you. I'm on my phone, so I can't see if anybody asks questions.
I know it's okay. That's my sense of humor. But I don't think, if Jerry or anybody else who's on still live, if you have any other questions for us, let us know. Just put it in the comment here. We'll take another minute or so. And then we can, wrap things up and give it a short little call. I drew a blank there for a second. So do you have any other words of wisdom that you can share with us as we kind of go part ways here today before we wrap up, unless there's any other questions that come up?
No, it's I'm kind of excited for this year too, because last year I presented the problem, and then now finally, like, looking into the detox methods, I have the problem, but we're looking into solutions.
Right. Okay, that's good. So basically, the last presentation, here's the problems and the challenges that you can find, and then now you're coming prepared this year for 2019 with a lot of the solutions.
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, well, thanks for tuning in today, Chantal, and thanks for sticking it out there with the technology. Hopefully get your camera working on your computer, and I'm going to go check my internet connection because...
Now that I finally had good internet, it's like the camera.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. All right, well, this is awesome. Great to see you, and I hope all is well. And yeah, enjoy your cats and the rest of your studies and research, and I look forward to seeing you again in a future call. And everybody else, thanks for tuning in today. If you found some value in our call today, remember that we do these almost every week at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. Sometimes they're at 7 p.m. I think next week we have Peter Jeffs coming on all the way from the UK, and he's talking about training with horses. And it's very interesting. If you're a VIP member, I encourage you very strongly to go into your account in our members area and search for Peter Jeff's presentation and kind of get ready for that next week, because he's got a very unique approach to what he's doing. And then he is on the following week for our monthly mini masterclass as well. So stay tuned on that. And Chantal, for your presentation, everybody who is members, that you guys can go into the members area or our app, you could just go search for Chantal in the little search bar in the app or the members, the website, and then it'll pull up her presentation, and then you can go in and listen to it. Because the neat part is that it's one thing to be kind of educated and empowered with what to do and, like, what's wrong, so to speak, or just look at everything and then have a good action plan in order to take some steps towards resolving those issues. Because nothing, in my opinion and experience, is worse than knowing or thinking that you know that there's an issue, but you don't really know how to solve it. So then you kind of feel a little frozen, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, guys, well, have a great day. We'll see you next week. And stay blessed, stay grateful, stay humble, and stay hungry.
Thank you.